And you're live with Michael Savage. Welcome to the Savage Nation. This is a shocking day, unprecedented in modern American history. And of course, the vermin on the left are twisting it, making believe that it was Zelensky was in charge. Look, I grew up in the antique business in New York City. I know exactly who Zelensky is. He's a cheap antique dealer who tried to beat Trump through intimidation. And of course, he didn't write the book Winning Through Intimidation. Trump did. So this little play actor from Ukraine who's taken hundreds of billions of dollars from us, wasted a million lives on a war that he didn't start. However, you need to go back to 2014 to see the origins of this war between Russia and Ukraine before you open your pie hole, or else you can just call up Rupert Murdoch and get some talking points for the Mark show. You know what I'm saying? All the warmongers who've never fired a BB gun, who want to kill more men. Trump is a peacemaker trying to make peace. Trump is trying to stop this psychotic drug addict from killing more men. So they make an agreement. Karen, everything's good?
Yes, you are all good.
So Trump and he work out a deal before the little creep even arrives, still wearing that disgusting just off the battlefield play acting suit, which disgusts me. He's not been on the battlefield. Why is he play acting like he just came off from the front? It's sickening. Okay, let's put aside the theatrics. 1 million men have died, according to my sources. Listen to my podcast. Listen to colonels who have fought in Iraq, who have Bronze Stars. Okay, here are the real numbers, not the ones given to you by CNN and MSNBC and AP and Reuters, the warmongers. So they work a deal out. We'll split the mineral income with you, and you'll get this, that. We'll put the men on the field to extract the minerals. We'll have hundreds of tens of thousands of workers, said Trump. They will be your security. We're not putting troops on the ground. We're not giving you F-35s. We're not giving you any more weapons. We're stopping the killing. So Zelensky agrees to that, like a good antique dealer from Budapest. And he comes to town, again wearing that disgusting outfit, making believe he's a big war hero. Just came off the front, busy firing a howitzer. And there he is again. Every 2 minutes, you can't put two and two together, the running nose. There's a lot of stuff on the internet about this. Every minute with the running nose. And I don't think it's pollen, personally. So he overcoked himself, or whatever the hell he did, and he overplayed his stupid antique dealer hand. Okay, and he wanted more. I want assurances. I'm not just doing what I said. That was one agreement. Now I want another agreement. I'm here now. I want more. You give me more. That's how it works. I intimidate everybody. I intimidate everybody. Everybody afraid of me. I know how to intimidate. I know how to do. I grew up, believe me, I know how to do and care what we do. Very good, very good. See, he tried it with the wrong person. And Trump threw him out on his ass in plain English. Get out of here, he said. Come back when you're ready to make peace. I couldn't believe what I watched. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Do you people understand what happened today? Do you understand what just happened in the Oval Office today? So he came in there and he tried to talk shit to Trump and Vance, and they smacked him around, threw him out on his ass. Because Trump wants it to end. He wanted a truce now. He wants peace now. Everything a hippie screamed about in the 60s, peace now. All the hippies, the Jane Fondaites, all the old hags who are dried out like prunes that were left out in the Mars sun, they all want war now. All the war, the peaceniks want war. It's crazy, isn't it? So we voted for Trump for peace. To me, this was the biggest issue. I'm fundamentally a man of peace, and I don't like bloodshed. I like conversation. I like dialogue if it's possible. I'm enough of a realist to understand the real world. I also know animal behavior. I study animals. I feed birds and can tell you what seagulls do, which is the fat bird gets all the bread. But that's a separate story. I read the Territorial Imperative. I read The Naked Ape. I've read all of the behavioral psychology of animals. I've been studying this for many years. I also know War and Peace. I've studied Napoleon. I've studied it all. And I am telling you that Zelensky is perhaps the smallest stage actor I have ever seen on the world stage. A pimple on Trump's ass would be bigger than Zelensky is as a human being. Let me repeat that for those of you who've been offended so you can write it down for good. A pimple on Trump's ass would be a bigger man than Zelensky is what he's done to his own people, this asshole. It was astonishing to see Trump stand up for peace and throw him out on his ass. So, I tweeted about this all day long. I couldn't believe it watching this. And then at the end of it, I said, wait a minute. He's just a front man. Zelensky's a front for the warmongers in Ukraine, who Putin calls the Nazis, the Azov Battalion. There's a degree of truth in that if you study history, but most of you don't even know what yesterday's time was at 24 hours from today. You haven't studied anything about the history between this nation and Russia. You don't know anything about what was done to them by the Soviet Union, which is not Putin. Putin is not the Soviet Union. That's something stuck in Mark Levine's mind, that he wants to recreate the Soviet Union. This is what the neocons have done, constantly foment war when they've never gone to war. Hannity, Levin, Karl Rove, and the other scumbags on Fox News screaming for war with Russia. That fat son of a bitch, Karl Rove, I saw him today. Pardon me for losing my temper. You know that Karl Rove, from the day I saw him, he looked like a guy who could play a good part of a fat SA officer in a World War II movie. And here he is still doing the same shit, still calling for war against Russia, pounding the Reagan drum. Neocon. Him and Levine, him and Hannity, him and the whole Fox News crew. They can all go fuck themselves as far as I'm concerned. These warmongering, cowardly bastards. I'd like to quote somebody who said, it was something along the lines of that no one hates war more than a soldier. General Douglas MacArthur. No one hates war more than the soldier. No one loves war more than Mark Levine, Sean Hannity, and Karl Rove. And the one who runs Fox News for them, what's his name, Murdoch, because he knows if it bleeds, it leads. You got to understand, war is very good for selling newspapers and websites. So if it bleeds, it leads. If it burns, it earns. It's sickening to watch this, that this little charade of a comedian, this pimple on Trump's ass, again with that fucking outfit of his, can't he buy a used suit in Filene's basement in Budapest? Can't he go online for $39.99 and get a short man's suit? A short. They must make a 44 short somewhere, a 42 short. With all the money he's grifted, he could afford a tailor to come in from China or from Singapore, wherever they send the tailors in from now. But I don't go for the outfit. It addles my mind to see the schmuck keep playing the same role. It's like Charlie Chaplin in The Great Dictator over and over again. Like he just came from the front, busy managing the men. You charge here, you charge there, fire here, fire over there. Over. And there he comes in, march. And what's with the marching like this? You see him walk like this? You can't see a tin pot dictator when it stares you in the eye. A tin pot dictator. You know how many poor Ukrainian men are dead, according to my experts? Colonel Davis, I know you're a bigger expert. 600,000 Ukrainians have been wasted. 300,000 Russians, the reverse of what Jake Crapper tells you. The reverse of what Reuters and AP, owned by American taxpayer money through the CIA, have been telling you. A complete lie, according to the experts I rely upon, who are real war heroes, who are really fought in battles, not these pimps in the media. That's 1 million people. Now, how many have been displaced because of the war? 8 million, 9 million people have left Ukraine. Mainly draft dodgers, women. They're living in Poland. They're living all through Europe, England. Many of them took menial jobs. They were professionals in Ukraine. The country is decimated. I understand the other side as well. They didn't provoke the war directly. I understand the other side of the coin. I understand Putin invaded. I get that. But unless you understand what was going on prior to the invasion, you can't understand anything. So I'll say it to you for the 50,000th time till you finally get it through your thick, communist, liberal, fake conservative heads. You ready? That's all in one sentence. Your fake, liberal, conservative, thick heads. Ukrainian people have suffered terribly in wars. They also had a large Nazi presence in World War II. A very large Nazi presence. They killed hundreds of thousands of innocent Jews, by the way. That's why they used Zelensky, who's Jewish, as a front man. That's a separate story, which I'll tell you about another time. It's way over your head. Why would the Nazis select a Jew as their leader for war? and for the hundreds of billions that were coming in. Why? Because then people couldn't criticize him. Then they had a little of this, and the guy is totally out of control. So the guy's a comedian, very popular. He can play the piano with his dick, according to everything. So the Russians call him a vulgar comedian. They were very polite about it. I have different words for him. I come from New York's Lower East Side. I wouldn't call him a vulgar comedian, but we'll use the high-class words today. Zelensky, the vulgar comedian, very popular, both in Ukraine and Russia, extremely popular, very talented. I think he could play a few chords of Chopin with his schmendrick, and they loved him. I don't want to go into the dick size of it. I don't care. I don't care whether it's a mini or a maxi. It doesn't matter to me. They loved him. The audiences laughed. From Moscow to Poland, they loved this little bastard. So then the Nazis put him up for office, and he runs as a peace candidate. And since he's a beloved comedian like Larry David, maybe with a bigger schmendrick, I don't really know. He runs for office on a peace platform, schmuck, and he says, we'll never join NATO, we'll never antagonize Russia, I want peace. The Ukrainians overwhelmingly vote in the peace candidate, Zelensky. The minute he's in office, what happens? He starts in, we're going to join NATO, we're putting missiles on the border with Russia. What the hell do you think Putin's going to do? If Mexico put missiles on the border of Texas, Arizona, and California, what would we do? You idiots, you morons, you. What did Kennedy do? What did Kennedy do when Castro brought missiles to Cuba? You don't remember that? What any sovereign nation will do, defends the people. So now you add the 20,000 Russian-speaking people who were killed in the disputed area that Russia has now conquered, which is east of the Dnieper River, by the way, a good portion of that land. 15,000 to 20,000 Russian-speaking people were slaughtered by the Ukrainians prior to this invasion by Russia. War breaks out. We know the rest of the story, unnecessary. 1 million people dead, 9 million displaced. Trump comes into office on one of his major platforms. I'm going to end this war before I even start. Well, it hasn't ended yet. He wants it ended because every day that it goes on, another man is dying of a bullet or one of our bombs that we're using. You know what we're using? You know what kind of bombs you're using, Jane Fonda? You piece of shit, you degenerate. Who are you? You and Jane Fonda, all you old hippie bitches, you warmongering cunts. You know, I feel like getting vulgar now, as vulgar as I can. You warmongering old cunts, you. Do you understand that we are using bombs and bomblets that macerate human flesh, sent by Joe Biden to macerate Russian boys? Macerate, not wound, macerate, turn them into pieces of chopped meat. And you want more of this? Trump sees the pictures. I don't. So he wants the war over. He runs on that platform, and he tries to get the comedian to settle down with Putin, calls Putin, blah, blah, you know, the story. And all of a sudden, okay, he's coming in, he's flying in through Ireland, blah, 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 and he arrives. Again, the little martinet. It's like out of Charlie Chaplin, the little dictator. The stiff body, you got to read body language. The stiff body, the mock military uniform. That would be enough to make me throw him out of the office if I were president. Tell him, get a fucking soup when you want to sit next to me. I hate them saying world leaders. How do you compare Zelensky to the leader of the United States of America, world leader? Are you joking? So anyway, so he comes in, they show him respect. Right away, he opens up his mouth, his antique store mouth, and he starts to attack our vice president, who's 1,000 times the man that he is, who actually fought in combat and doesn't wear a uniform to show that he's in combat. And he tries to put down our vice president, Vance, and doesn't get anywhere because Vance knows what's what. Trump steps in and tells him, you're being disrespectful, basically, you little shit, shut your mouth. He didn't add you little shit, shut your mouth. But basically, Trump told him, shut the fuck up already. And in public, we finally see what we've all been craving to see, which is diplomacy being made in front of our eyes in real time. So right away, the left goes into overdrive. Zelensky leaves meeting. Trump insults Zelensky. The same shit that we've been putting up for years. Again, there we go again. Gets up and walks out. Where's he going? He's not going to survive if he goes back to Ukraine with no deal in his hand because he blew it because of too much of this. He was over jacked up. Didn't you watch him? He overplayed his hand. Trump put him in his place. Instead of shutting his fucking mouth and backing off and trying to make a deal to go home with, he goes home with his dick in his hands. Nothing. Why? Because he blew it. He's a cokehead, a warmonger, a war criminal. Should be tried in The Hague for what he's done to his own people, amongst other things. You know, the Ukrainian people deserve a better leader than him. Why don't they put a legitimate leader in place? The man is a dictator. You don't know that because Jay Crapper didn't tell you that. He is a dictator. No elections, cancel the Orthodox Christian Church, close down opposition TV stations, newspapers, radio stations. And that's the money that's the best thing you can buy with Joe Biden's money, meaning our money. That's the best we can get for the money, is him. It's unbelievable. It's sickening. So I grew up in New York City, so did Trump. That doesn't make us cousins. But I understand his language and I understand how he behaves. And if you want to hear it for the 50th time or the first time, I flew with President Trump during the last administration in the flying Oval Office in Air Force One. You didn't, so shut your fucking mouth. I know how Trump operates. He's not intimidated by anybody. There's a way to win him, but it's not by intimidating him. You don't beat a guy like him by trying to intimidate him. You got to use reason if you're trying to reason with him. Don't try to browbeat him because you're going to lose every time. I know how it's done. He and I speak the exact same language. He grew up in Queens. I grew up in Queens. He grew up on the other side of Union Turnpike in a detached house. He was rich. I grew up line.